And you're all set, Dave.
1 second, I'm opening up the agenda. All right, meeting call to order. It is Tuesday, September 15th. It is now 7:17 p.m. Town Council meeting via Zoom.
Councilman Licciardi?
Here.
Councilman Messier?
Here.
Councilwoman Williamson?
Here.
Council Vice President D'Amico?
Here.
Council President Goslin?
Here.
There is a quorum. Discussion.
Before we get started, I just want to go over a couple of housekeeping items. If we can utilize the raise your hand option, that way there we're not stepping on top of each other. I was watching one of the last meetings and there was some tough time hearing some conversation because 2 and 3 people were speaking at once. Also, prayer and pledge allegiance for some reason was not put on this agenda. So Mary Ann, if you could just make sure that's on the next agenda.
Doesn't it go on sewer when sewer goes first?
Well, it wasn't on there either. I didn't see it there.
Oh, because I asked Paula about that and she said because it goes on sewer. So yeah, I'll make sure it's on the next one.
Thank you. Maybe we missed it in sewer, but.
Oh, it's okay. Okay. Continue.
Question. Dave,
Yeah.
being on the phone, how would you like me to?
You're the only one, so try not to just jump on everybody.
All right. Not a problem.
Discussion, action, vote of town council. Any matter on this portion of the agenda may be acted upon by way of topic discussion and action by the town council with a vote on the record to approve, amend, deny, or table the agenda item. Discussion regarding actions and planning pertaining to addressing COVID-19 virus and the impact on the town operations.
Good evening. The town has, some of the updates, the town has received the thermal image face scanners that will take your temperature. If you look at the camera, you look at the camera, the camera will show your temperature. And if you, the temperature, it will say if you are normal or above a limit. And it also will remind you if you're not wearing a face mask that you should put one on. So we have 5 of these cameras, thermal imaging units. 2 will be placed in Town Hall. 1 is in Town Hall already. 1 is at the Civic Center. 1 is at the Ice Arena. And we have another one for a spare or special occasions. And they are quite interesting and they seem to work very well. So we're happy to have those. And I just want to recognize Chief Ferrone for getting these cameras at a very reduced cost. When we started with preparations for planning for reopening, these cameras were very expensive and the chief was able to get them, I think, for half cost. So we're very fortunate, very happy about that. And again, any of these expenses will go towards in the fund for the reimbursement for 75% of the COVID-related expenses. And but again, we have to outlay the funds initially. So again, very happy about that, the savings there. Right now, again, we are waiting for the construction receipt of a barrier for the tax collector's office, the main office. There is a large counter there. And one is being constructed similar to the one in the tax collector's office. At that point, all the major offices that have a direct contact with the public will have the barriers, and we'll be closing in on refining our plan and putting an opening date out there. So again, we are getting closer to a opening of Town Hall. And those are the updates that I have this evening. one more update that with the ice arena and civic center, new regulations have just come out where team games can be played. So Lloyd Swanson is revising our regulations, or has revised them, to have a more capacity for a parent who wants to come in and watch these games. Prior to that, it was only the individuals, students that were participating in practices as well as the coaches. So now we're revising those. She's revised those regulations. So there will be some parents coming in to watching their sons and daughters play. So that is the update that I have at the present time.
Any questions for Ernie? Mary Beth?
Ernie, I was just wondering, you said half price. Can you tell me tell us what the cost of those units are?
Chief Rowe, can you answer that?
Yeah, when we first started looking for these type of units back in like April, the first price that we got was about $7,000 a unit. Director Patello, through a company that we do work with, got a price of about $3,400 to $3,500. We ended up paying about just over $1,800 per unit.
Wow.
Yeah, so and that's part of technology coming down and some good shopping. And the communications division of the fire department again came through and helped out a great deal in that. And just one other thing I wanted to just mention to you is that Don Johnson from the communications division also wrote a PPE grant, and we have been awarded $36,000 for PPE for COVID. So we did get awarded that grant.
Terrific.
That's awesome.
Yes, it is. Thank you. Any other questions for Ernie? Thank you, Ernie.
Minutes of the previous meeting. Resolved that the minutes of the August 18th, 2020 Town Council meeting, August 25th, 2020 executive session, and August 25th, 2020 special meeting are hereby accepted.
Resolution. Second.
Moving second. Any discussion?
Actually, I do have a couple of things, couple of questions, if I may.
Go ahead,
So
Mary.
on the August 18 minutes, and I think maybe it's just we need some guidance from perhaps Tim and or Al. Items K, L, and M relate to the ordinances 2020 9, 10, and 11, which if you remember, we started all over on September 1st. So I'm wondering if it's a bit confusing to have them here in these minutes when any votes taken here don't count. So I don't know the answer to that.
I would suggest that because they were done the second time around, to omit 9, 10, and 11 from the 18th. And that would be appropriate for the minutes for September 1st. And that way there would be no confusion. No confusion.
So-
excuse me.
So we should remove K, L, and M from those minutes.
Exactly. Because then they should appropriately show up for the minutes of September 1st, 2020.
Okay. And then on item number R, letter R, under claims, there is a town council hereby approves or denies the following pothole claims. There's a whole vote before we actually even get to a number. So that needs to be removed. That's just sort of a housekeeping, I think. So there's an extra vote in letter R. And then under public comment, it says Council President Goslin requested a continuance of the executive session from 8/4/2020, and that's not true. It wasn't a continuance. If you remember, 8/4/2020 was that storm. So that meeting was canceled. And I think there's some legal ramifications for saying a continuance. I'll again defer to
You
the
don't
solicitors.
you don't want to have a continuance and/or recess, because that's going to give the it looks like the intention of the council was to keep the meeting open, and therefore you could have all sorts of negative ramifications from that. So again, if there was no meeting, it was canceled, it should say canceled outright.
So, yeah, so it's just a rescheduling of the canceled meeting from 8/4/2020. So those are changes on the August 18th minutes. And then on the August 26th minutes, and I'll ask Councilman Licciardi, I'm not sure you were present. That was a vote for the single meeting for a single vote on a license. And it says you were present, but I'm not sure that you were.
No, I was not.
Okay, so his name should be removed.
There was only 3 of us at that meeting.
That's correct. So I guess I would make a motion that with those amendments or changes that the minutes be approved.
Second.
Mary Ann, do you have all those?
I do, I do.
Any other comment?
Who seconded that?
I did.
D'Amico. No other comment? Councilman Licciardi?
Yes.
Councilman Messier?
Here, yes, sorry. I had it on mute.
Councilwoman Williamson?
Yes.
Councilman D'Amico?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Town council acting as a liquor commission. Class B victualling liquor license resolves that the following application for a Class B victualling liquor license having advertised in accordance with law for hearing on this date, no remonstrance and or objectors present, the same is hereby approved. 293 PVD LLC, doing business as Boomerang's Roadhouse, 293 Providence Street.
I'll move the license application.
Second.
Moving seconded, discussion. This is, what everybody knows is the old Joseph Pub or many different things, long shots, whatever it was last. And
Millworks was the most recent, I believe.
yes, Millworks was the most recent. This is going to be a barbecue style restaurant, just to give everybody a heads up. Any comment on this liquor license? Any public comment on this license? Seeing none. Councilman Licciardi?
Yes.
Councilman Messier?
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson?
Yes.
Councilman D'Amico?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Town council acting as town council, consent agendas, license application. Resolved that the consent agenda having been posted, all matters being referred to proper departments and being disposed of or awaiting recommendation, the same is hereby approved.
Move the license applications.
Second.
Moving second, any discussion?
Yes.
Councilman Licciardi?
Yep. This is actually on Boomerangs, the one we just approved the liquor license for.
Yep.
I received an email a few weeks ago questioning when they have music that this is from someone who lives on Providence Street, who's right near there. And again, it's a new place. I'm sure new ownership, but with the previous owners, they said it was really bad as far as the noise, the music, and it's after hours. So, I mean, this is coming from someone saying they're going from like till 1 and 2 in the morning. I'm not quite sure that's the case. Again, it's new ownership. I just think it's something that we should be aware of. I'm not saying I don't want to approve this, but it's something that I think, the chief should be aware of going forward.
Yes, that's been before the council before, actually, when it was Millworks and even the previous one before Millworks. I think if we got to give the business a chance, but again, at least we're on notice that the police department may receive some calls if it's, you know, late at night or whatever with the loud music, but let's see what the new owners do.
I think I had my hand up too. I don't know if you saw it, David.
I did, I'm sorry.
I think if I remember correctly, some of the issues that we had heard, and I used to hear some complaints too, was the previous to Millworks, because I don't think Millworks really did a lot of, maybe they did like some acoustic music, but I don't think they did any like bands. I could be wrong. And again, I don't know what this new place is going to have either, but just to clarify.
Actually, Jay, there was actually claims that they could actually hear the pool balls hitting off the pool table. That's how, so I don't know if there's a pipe going right from one property to another. And I'm not even sure if it's the same property owner, but we've had those types of complaints there also.
Gotcha.
Mary
So-
Beth, I see your hand up.
I have a question on the number 17, the event for Southern New England Events LLC. And it's a craft fair from, I mean, has that been approved? Is there a state plan that's been approved? Do we make sure that happens? I would think that managing that would be a very difficult, and making sure people keep distances. I don't know how big it's going to be. So I just had some questions about that.
I think it says pending state approval plan. So even though we're approving the license, they have to get approval from the state.
I understand that, but even with state approval, and does that take away any of our liability?
Lori's on.
gets-
Actually, Lori is on, so we can ask her.
Hi, so we've been working, obviously, I'm sure that you've all figured out with the sports that are going on. I work probably every day with the state and talk to them, and I worked very closely with Chief Ferone. We do have a COVID plan in place. Everything is there. It's a very, very small event. It at one point was very, very large, and because it's been postponed so many times, a lot of their vendors have backed out. So they have about 50 vendors. They're going to be, each table is going to be about 12 feet apart. I am going with the guidelines for retail for phase 3. That's what we've come up with to decide to go with, because there's lots of different phases and market guidelines and all stuff like that. So we decided to go with the retail. I'm also going with the higher risk population because it is retail craft fair, and I'm thinking that the people that may come may be at higher risk. So it is 200, it is one person per every 200 square feet in the building. So at that, when you do the square footage of the building, we're looking at 118 people. So with 50 vendors in here, there will be an app counter at the entrance and the exit. So I will not go over having 100 people in the building. It is from 11 to 3. I will be here to make sure that it does go as planned, make sure there'll be arrows on the floor. I mean, I don't know how many of you came to vote, but same thing, like arrows on the floor, you can only go one way, you know, throughout the building. And we do have a floor plan already in place. I'm waiting just by the state's guidelines to submit it, just because everything changes from week to week. So we're going to submit it to the state next week, and then they will approve the floor plan of it. Because just in case, I mean, we all know this is an ever-changing situation. So something might change where they may say that they, you know, instead of 6 feet between tables, they may want 12 feet. So that may change the amount of vendors that he could possibly have. But for the most part, I think that between Todd is the person that's doing it, Chief Ferone, the state, and myself, we are very, very on top of this. You know, this will be the first one that I am doing since, and, you know, I've done a lot of big ones in the past, but I mean, I definitely will be here the entire time just because I just want to make sure that everything is clear cut. No one's going any other way. I have absolutely no problem telling people, no, you can't do that, or, you know, anything of that nature. So I don't know if you have any other questions or if I can answer.
So you're saying 118, the math works out to be 118. And if you take away one person per craft table, so that brings it down to 68 people being in.
And I'll be totally honest with you, with those craft fairs, I mean, I really, at any given time, there's probably only about 50 people, even the bigger ones. There's not a lot of people. I mean, besides the middle school one, I mean, the ones that I've had here, there's not more than 50 people ever really in them. I mean, this probably will be the one time that there'll be people lined up outside, but
So I guess that begs the question, is it a worthwhile venture for us to do, given the liability that it potentially exposes us to? Yes, something that I think we should think about.
Well, you may want to have a waiver form ready and available for everyone that enters,
yeah,
because
so I would still do the same COVID testing, the same screening at the door. So they would all go in front of the thermal scanner and they would do the same checklist where it's the contact list that I have to keep for every single person that comes in here, where you collect their name, their phone number, and you ask them the 9 standard questions, and then they have to initial that they were asked these questions and whatnot. And I do have signs throughout everywhere through here that masks must be worn. I mean, I've laminated everything. I have the signs of COVID on every wall. I've laminated a lot of pieces of paper throughout the building just to make everyone aware. And you know, my biggest goal has been to make sure that the information is out there, they're aware of it, so they know that this is what the rules that they're supposed to be following are.
And I'm sure you've done all that, but you also know that there will be people that will not want to follow the rules. So that will be an issue. I mean, that's the reality. So I go back to the first question. Is it a worthwhile venture? Given what we might make on that particular day. So just something to think about for the future, until we get more of a green light and a more open economy, I guess. So
Walmart's open. Home Depot's open with hundreds of people in them.
no question, but I don't have to worry about the liability there.
I understand. Any other comment? Hearing none, roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi has his hand up. I'm sorry. Jay, you'd have to unmute yourself. I had to mute you because you had some background noise. Go ahead.
Am I good?
Yep.
I don't know. I just don't feel comfortable. It's not about, I'm sure Lori has a plan in place for everything, but it's not Lori that I'm worried about. It's the people that don't follow the rules. And being in a town facility, I don't feel comfortable holding an event. So I don't think we should. I mean, I really want to put this in Tim's hands to say, I mean, what do you think legally? You know, are we setting ourselves up for something right now?
You're muted, Tim.
you hear me now?
Yep.
All right. Based upon what's going on with commerce, when people enter into a store, they're assuming the risk, even though they are, what Al remember was, we used to have what was called the invitee rule. So even if you wanted each participant, vendor, guest, anyone to sign a waiver, waiving any right, title, and interest that they may have in going after the town of West Warwick should they get sick, you know, there's going to be a question about whether or not that's going to be enough. Your next issue would be is, do you contact the Rhode Island Interlocal Trust to find out what the you know, the meets and bounds of our liability may be should someone catch it, or should somebody transmit it? There's a lot of different questions, but things have pretty much been shut down for the past 6 months. Sooner or later, there's going to have to be a test case, and if the state is going to approve the plan, and the town, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, if someone's going to sue the town, they're also going to sue the state, because the state's involved by approving the plan. So at some point in time, you're going to as a town council, have to make the call about going forward. Is it worth it? That's very difficult to even start to answer because I don't know dollar wise, what will the town make on this particular event? On a cost benefit analysis, is it worth it? I don't know. But again, if it's a smaller type of an affair that you said that usually there's only 50 people there counting the vendors, this might be the test case that you want to see to determine whether or not you're going to go forward in the future with larger events at perhaps larger venues. So I know that's not really an answer to the issue of liability, but sooner or later, the town council is going to have to make the call about going forward while this pandemic, and hopefully there's going to be a solution and a vaccine in the future.
And I can agree with you, solicitor, on, there has to be a test case. Earlier in this meeting, Ernie stated that they're allowed to play hockey games now and fans can actually enter the building. So whether or not that event makes good money and the craft fair makes maybe a little less money, what is the difference to the person who's hosting? So in other words, the hockey leagues that are hosting their game, because they're paying $200 something an hour, it's okay for them to play because it's a cost analysis and it's great. But the craft fair company can't run their craft fairs because the cost analysis isn't worth it. Is that a fair statement to say? I mean, to be honest with you, I think that's crazy. If we're allowing half the building to operate, we're allowing basketball teams to go in there and practice, we're allowing baseball teams to go in there and practice, we're allowing the school to go in there and use it during recess or whatever when they have to. I'm not sure why we have to criticize a craft show and give it a shot.
Yeah, I'm not criticizing, I'm sorry, I'm not criticizing the craft show. I'm just asking those questions. And Lori, can you help me out? So we must make per table, we get a certain amount of money. Is that how that works?
We do not, we rent the building.
And how much are we renting the building for?
So because it's going to be under 200 people, it's $150 an hour. So they're coming in at 9, they're leaving at 4. It comes out to $1,050. I probably will have one person on staff. So let's say 9, 10, 9, it'd be $135 for the employee. So
$9.15.
we'd make $915.
That's without any lights or any utilities or anything else. So that's my point.
Yeah.
As a business person, whether it's a worthwhile. But thank you for that. I think it's probably,
when I was talking about criticizing, I was actually talking about solicitors' comments about if it was a worthwhile event, because to you and me, we might not think craft shows are a worthwhile event. But, a hockey event might be more of a worthwhile event to you and I. And that's what I was just trying to, when I said about criticizing, was more about the type of events.
yeah, it's not, and that's not what it is. It's about whether, quite honestly, we're in the business of selling these, that's what we're doing. And I'm not so sure for a net $950 or $915 before we take utilities, whether it is a worthwhile, but I'm willing to go on. I just think we should consider those things going forward. That's all.
I would just like to throw, it's not necessarily about the amount of money. I mean, as long as we're not losing money, if it's safe, it's safe. If it's not a liability, it's not a liability. I think that's the bigger concern, because if you said, hey, listen, I think it's dangerous and I think it's a liability to the town, then that would be totally fine. But I think if we said, well, we're going to cancel it because we don't think we're going to make enough money, I think you would start to lose people that would want to go in there.
Councilman Licciardi, you have your hand up. You're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm not concerned about the money. 900, 9,000. It's just because it seems like it's the first one. I'm just a little concerned. I mean, and if this came up a month from now and nothing has been done like this, I'd probably have the same questions. So I'm just apprehensive of actually when to start. You know, once this gets approved, I'm sure there's going to be more. And I know there's going to be a test case somewhere. I'm just very conservative of when to pull that trigger.
I think we're all probably, that's true. We're apprehensive, and I'm not sure about what the trust would say to the town, but I know that my insurance policy it's not covered. I mean, infectious disease is not covered, so I don't believe I can recover if indeed I get sued. So just.
Well, that's the thing.
Again,
I just want to make sure that we're okay to go ahead with this.
Yep.
You know, because I understand there's limited people in the building, and we're going to be there. I get it, but when you have, 5 people looking at the same table, and they're like a foot apart because some people want to follow the rules and some people don't, and we can't be everywhere. And then somebody comes across and says, I'm trying to stand at this table and there's 3 other people around me. I don't feel safe. We know we're going to get that. So I want to make sure that we're covered for the event, for this event, and then future events can follow. So that's why I asked my question for the solicitor. Should there be any other guidelines going forward with this?
The only guidelines would be addressing it through our insurance company, which is the interlocal trust, which would probably come back with the comment, why don't you make the decision? Because again, as Councilperson Williamson said, they're probably not going to cover infectious diseases. However, when you have the analogy of what's going on in town right now with schools, again, sports, different groups getting together, as long as the rules are followed, if people have their mask on, if they utilize the 6 feet distance, we should be okay. If not, again, we got the almost, it's not really, I guess, but the fail safe of taking their temperatures and asking the questions when they enter, keeping them apart. Again, you're addressing it. It's a very small type of venue, and it's not anticipated that there's going to be, a lot of people attending it at the same time. So again, you're going to have to make the decision knowing full well that the issue may not be covered by insurance. There may be people that are going to violate the law. There may be people that walk in there with no symptoms that are going to walk out of there and 3 days later may have symptoms. That could all occur. But if you're asking me based upon health, safety, and welfare, don't have it. It's not worth it. But there's going to come a point in time in the future when you're going to be asked to do the same thing with perhaps the same type of venue, same type of organization, and same group of people, or a different type of an event, that you're finally going to have to make a decision about going forward.
And actually, thank you, Kristen. Kristen Bryant just sent something saying that there is some limited coverage. And Kristen, I think, yes.
And
I raised my hand, but no one called on me, so
I was waiting for everybody to.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, we did get an email this week from the trust saying that they are expanding their liability coverage for COVID-19. So I sent it all out to you to review.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that coverage is. I know it says limited. I haven't read it because
it's basically coverage for attorney fees, coverage for if there's damages or whatnot. There's certain limits, and it's not all encompassing, but it's more than what we had, and it's not at an additional cost. So it's they're just expanding their coverage during this time.
Okay.
Any other comment? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi, you are on mute.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Are we voting on all the licenses?
Yes.
I'm going to vote yes, but on number 17, as long as we're covered through the trust, as Kristen would say, then I'm fine with it. So I guess I'm going to say yes to all of them.
Councilman Messier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson,
I will say yes, pending coverage and state approval.
Councilman D'Amico,
Yes. And if I get out of work early enough, I will be in attendance.
and I vote yes.
Ordinance number 2020-9, an ordinance amending Appendix C traffic ordinances of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of West Warwick. Second reading. Sponsored by Councilman Licciardi.
Move the ordinance. Move the ordinance.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Discussion. We've already gone over this second reading. It's for the stop signs. Do you have any public comment on this matter? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi,
Yes.
Councilman Messier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson,
Yes.
Councilman D'Amico,
Yes.
and I'm voting yes.
Ordinance 2020-10, second reading, sponsored by Council President Goslin, and ordinance amending Chapter 18 Taxation, Article 1 in general of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of West Warwick by adding thereto Section 18-16 adjustment of exemptions upon revaluation.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi,
Yes.
Councilman Messier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson,
Yes.
Councilman D'Amico,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Ordinance 2020-11, second reading, previously tabled, sponsored by Council President Goslin, an ordinance authorizing a budget amendment which will move funds to salary lines for raises that occurred as a result of collective bargaining that occurred after the budget was adopted.
I'll move to take item K off the table.
Actually, I don't think we need to. I don't believe it was previously tabled. We actually had the first reading on September 1st. I think that's a carryover from the old days, so I don't believe it was previously tabled.
Okay, then I will move the ordinance.
Second.
It was not tabled.
That's correct. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi,
Yes.
Councilman Messier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson,
Yes.
Councilman D'Amico,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Ordinance 2020-12, second reading, sponsored by Council President Goslin, an ordinance amending Chapter 16 Streets and Sidewalks, Article H, Driveways and Curb Cuts, Section 33, Plan Required Supervision, and Section 34, Waiver of Restrictions on Location and Dimensions of Driveways of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of West Warwick.
The ordinance.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Again, it's a second reading. Marianne, just clarification, these have been advertised, correct?
Yes,
I see them attached, but I just want to make sure for the record.
yes, absolutely. They have been advertised.
Okay. Any other comment? Hearing none. Councilman Licciardi,
Yes.
Councilman Messier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson,
Yes.
Councilman D'Amico,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Okay, just for the record, Dave, it was, I think, an $1,100 ad. It was huge. It took up an entire page. So, and it's on file here. Ordinance 2020-13, second reading, sponsored by Councilman Licciardi. An ordinance amending Chapter 15 residential, commercial, and industrial users of the regional wastewater treatment facility sewer use ordinance, Section 21, summary of fees of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of West Warwick.
Move the ordinance.
Second,
Moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none. I'll take a roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi,
Yes.
Councilman Messier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson,
yes,
Councilman D'Amico,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Ordinance 2020-14, second reading, sponsored by Council President Goslin, an ordinance amending Appendix C traffic ordinances of the Town of West Warwick. Location, Rathbun Street, stop sign at Rathbun at the intersection of Andrews Avenue.
I just want to make some clarification. This was actually sponsored by Councilman Messier.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi,
Yes.
Councilman Messier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson,
yes,
and Councilman D'Amico.
Yes.
I vote yes.
Ordinance 2020-15, first reading, sponsored by Council President Goslin, an ordinance amending Chapter 12.5 Parks and Recreation, Article 3 McCarthy Field of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of West Warwick.
Move the ordinance.
Do I have a second?
second,
Al?
Yeah, the original ordinance that I'm submitting to you only covered, it was entitled McCarthy Field. It basically only covered rules, regulations, and all kinds of control only for McCarthy Field. It did throw in Amby Smith Field for a limited section. What I did was I deleted the name McCarthy Field and made this ordinance with the rules, the regulations, the no smoking, the no parking, applicable to all athletic fields and playgrounds in the town. So now it's all encompassing. Before, when the ordinance was drafted many years ago, it only, as I said, only covered McCarthy Field. So now it's all encompassing. If we have any sport, recreational, town athletic field, basketball court, tennis court, or playground, specifically excluding the Civic Center, Field House of Bagheera, because they're under a separate section, it does say that they will be their own contracts. But basically all I'm doing here is if it's recreation or sports, it's covered.
Any questions for Al?
yes, I do have one.
Mary Beth?
Al, under section 12.5-39, indemnification and insurance, item B, it talks about the DPW may require, where it used to say shall, a user shall provide proof of general liability. So we're sort of, there are times we won't require the liability.
It says shall. No applicant for the use of an agreement for any facility shall retain the services. Where are you, Mary Beth?
Section 12.5-39, indemnification and insurance. It looks like we're making a change about the requirement to have liability insurance. It used to say the user shall provide proof of general liability, and we're changing it to see the DPW may require the user to provide.
Yeah, well, at some point, it was suggested that there be flexibility, that if it was a small event, that they wouldn't need it. That was what the change came about.
So I guess I would have some concerns about arbitrarily being able to waive that. So I'm not sure.
You can just make a motion to amend it and return it to shall, and then when it comes before you for second reading, it would be shall. I'll make the change and submit it.
And I guess I want to hear what others think. So that concerned me, and I don't know if there could be a provision in that says that we may waive it under certain circumstances, but as a general rule that we should require it.
Councilperson, the waiver used to come before the council, and depending on the event and depending on who participating, the council had the authority, only the council had the authority to waive the liability insurance. It wasn't allowed to allow a department head to do it or have the department do it. So I would suggest that, as Al suggested, amending it, putting it back, that the town requires the user to provide proof of general liability insurance coverage in the amount of $1 million, and then allow for the council to address request for a waiver at a particular time in the future.
So I would make a motion to accept this resolution. I'm sorry, it's an ordinance. Accept this ordinance with the modification as described, requiring the liability insurance.
With the ability of the town council to waive.
Yes. Yes.
I will second that.
I have a question though on this.
Councilman Licciardi?
Why would we waive liability for anybody? I mean, if you have a group of 15 or a group of 200, I mean, it only takes one person to get hurt.
I agree. It would probably be very, very rare, but there must be some reason that request was made to make that change, because, and I don't know what that history was.
This goes back, what you have before us started 3 years ago. And at that time, it was suggested that if you had some very small event, seeking $1 million liability wasn't proper. So that's how that came about.
Yeah, I think that
During the Centennial, there were town-sponsored events on town property, and then there were other events sponsored on town property going on at the same time. So there was the question about, should everybody have insurance, town included? And it didn't make a lot of sense for some nonprofits that couldn't come up with this type of insurance when they were going to be there for a very limited time. So it's always been a question regarding event-specific, participant-specific, but it was always the town council that had sole authority to waive. And again, Al, you could probably address this as well as I can. I can't really recall any time the town council waiving indemnification insurance policy.
During the 100-year anniversary, we may have one or two vendors that we did.
Right. That's the only thing I could think of.
I have no knowledge of it.
Yeah, I do have one, it is an ordinance, and I do have somebody from the audience. Jerry, just state your name and address for the record, and I'm unmuting you.
Jerry Lee, 172 Prospect Hill Ave. Just looking at the ordinance, though, nothing in the ordinance says that this is for events. This is basically stating that all these rules should apply if a person goes to a park.
This is for the recreation facilities only.
But we have playgrounds in this. It says athletic fields and playgrounds, correct?
Yes. I'm not sure I follow you.
I think he wanted to put everything under one umbrella, so it's not named each field and each park, to shorten and put it all under one umbrella.
Yeah.
But I think Jerry's point is, so if there's a kid on a swing, Does he have to have $1 million worth? I assume that's what you're asking, Jerry.
That is correct. So the title of the ordinance should be changed for events, should be in the wording, correct?
So we're talking about someone who actually
It just
leases
says,
or rents or uses. Yeah.
Yes, rents or uses the field.
the title just says athletic fields and playgrounds.
And when they fill out the application, Jerry.
Okay, I'm just looking at the ordinance, and the title of the ordinance itself should be more specific to events, because anybody looking at it would be looking at as if they go to use a playground or any town field on a daily basis.
This is
It's-
common in many
it-
other cities and towns. And it's more geared towards anyone filling out a permit to use the facility. That doesn't
Jerry-
mean mom going with little Johnny to go and play on the swing set.
Jerry, it does say events. It says for the purpose of organized sporting or recreational event. (12.5-31).
Okay, but the ordinance, the title of the ordinance itself is 2020-15. So that should be put in that ordinance in the header line to be specific to what it is. Other than that,
Well,
anyone reading that ordinance reads it as anybody who goes to any playground will now need insurance.
Well, what this ordinance does actually is it amends chapter 12.5 Parks and Recreation.
Article 3.
Yeah.
And Article 3 is limited to the fields and playgrounds. Parks and Recreation.
Okay, I just made my point, but even in the title of the
Thank you.
ordinance doesn't say Article 3.
Yes, it does, actually, Jerry. It does say it's odd the way it's an ordinance amending chapter 12.5 Parks and Recreation, Article 3, McCarthy Field of the Code of Ordinance of the Town of West Warwick is actually the title of
Okay,
the ordinance. So, and then it does go down to Article 3, and as Al just said, 12.5-31 does talk about specifically intended any person, group, corporation, or other entity who wishes to utilize, and so
Okay.
on. It talks about an application, but thank you. That's a point well taken. Yes.
thank you.
Any other comment? Hearing, Councilman, you have your hand up. Is that just because you left it up or?
No, I have a question on this.
Sure.
Because there's fees involved, and right now there is no park secretary, who is in charge if,
I don't think
if
that's, go ahead.
well,
Go ahead.
if somebody wants to, people are filling out permits to use the fields, I'm sure. Where is this, who's in charge of doing this?
Don, you want-
DPW.
Yep, can you hear me?
Yep.
Right now, Freddie has been collecting the checks and depositing the checks for any field rentals that we've had since we no longer have a park secretary. And the park secretary, we are looking, I believe, still for a part-timer, probably starting in the spring.
Thank
Your hand's still up. I'm going to lower it.
Who am I?
It's all set. Okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
Any other comment? Hearing none, roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi,
Yes.
Councilman Messier,
Yes.
Councilman Williamson,
Yes.
Councilman D'Amico,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. Mary Ann, before you read the next item, I want to take no action. I want to take this off the agenda. Main reason being is there is a lot of fields, gazebos, parks that are not named on these fees, and I don't want to start talking about fees until we have every field and park on here that we charge. And I know, Don, you're not familiar with every park and playground in town, and I know you worked on this ordinance, but I would suggest getting with somebody who's very knowledgeable of all the fields, Freddie and maybe Lori, and and myself, maybe we could take a ride around so we can get to know all the fields and what we charge for, because what I see on this ordinance, I mean, this resolution, and what we charge for out there, some of the fields aren't on here, like Rayner Field's not on here. The girls softball fields are not on here. The gazebo is not on here. The gazebo at River Point Park is not on here. And these are all things that we charge in our parks.
Okay,
So I want to take no action on the next item until we're prepared. So just take it off the agenda until Al can reach out to Don and start working on this.
Okay. Authorization for the Director of Public Works to contract with Northeastern Tree Services, Inc. for tree removal services. The estimated cost is $25,000 per year, sponsored by Council President Goslin.
I'll move the item.
Second.
Moving second, discussion, Don?
The previous contract expired in March of 2018, and this is a new 3-year contract, and we have a budget item of 25,000. I currently have 9 to 10 trees that need to be removed, and those orders will go out immediately tomorrow if this is approved tonight.
Any questions for Don?
Actually, the only issue that I have is I agree with this. I want to vote for it. The attachment, the invitation to bid, the request for proposal is actually tree removal services 2016 to 2018. So the actual RFP attached to this was a previous one. I don't know that that makes a difference. I assume that's a mistake in the one that went out and the bids were opened on August 13th, according to this, I assume. But again, the attachment here is 2016, 2018. It references Dave Lombari. It is clearly not an up-to-date.
My mistake. I'll make sure that I send out the current advertisement that we sent out, and they were opened in August.
Okay, so with that change and making sure that the actual RFP that went out and the invitation to bid that went out is attached as opposed to the old one, I guess I would be okay with it. Unless there's some reason not to do it. And I really have some trees I want cut down, so I'm probably leaning the other way, so.
The resolution clearly
correct.
indicates what's happening, so the attachments aren't really going to cause any problems. It's almost as if there would be a typo, but unless the invitation to bid for 2020 is significantly different than what is here, I think you can go forward tonight. So can anybody comment on the invitation to bid as what is, if it's significantly different than what is here before you? Because Fred Presley is no longer the manager and Dave Lombari is no longer the acting director.
Don, would you, I mean, were there many changes made to that invitation to bid?
There were not many changes. Most of what was changed was format and dates. And again, I apologize for putting the wrong one in. As you can tell, I had a lot of items on this agenda. So again, apologize for that, but we did put this thing out to bid. We got we got 2 bids. We had 3 people pull the specs. And again, this is for the next 3 years. Don, I understand all that. My question is, and I think the councilwoman echoed it, is the invitation to bid for 2020 for tree removal services significantly different than what is attached to the resolution? No, it is not. Okay, thank you. Then having said that, I would suggest that the council can move forward because the language of the resolution is correct.
I agree, the resolution is correct, and I would just ask that this attachment be removed and the proper one be put in place in the formal record of the minutes.
Any other comment? Hearing none, roll call vote. Councilman Lichardi,
Yes, but I want the right wording put on,
correct.
just like Councilman Williamson says.
Yep. Councilman Messier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson,
Yes, and I hope the 4 trees on Queen Street are on that list, Don.
Councilman D'Amico. He's muted. Councilman D'Amico. He's absent right now. And I'll vote yes, and I hope Parker Street is on that list too. Go ahead, Marion.
Contracts change uniform and towel rental per recommendation by the Director of Public Works to change the contract for uniform and towel rental, contract number 2020-12 with Cintas Corporation of Cumberland, Rhode Island, to include the uniform rentals to the Department of Public Works employees, sponsored by Town Manager.
Is that a motion? Everybody on mute?
Move the resolution.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Ernie?
Yes, what is happening in the Department of Public Works is requesting to utilize a uniform bid that was approved by the West Warwick, the council serving as a sewer commission, a uniform bid that provides the uniforms for the employees of the West Warwick Regional Wastewater Treatment Facility. Under the collective bargaining agreement with Council 94, the Public Works, under that agreement, Article 3, compensation for clothing, states that employees of the water control facility and Public Works shall, mandatory, receive 5 complete uniforms per week, and the maintenance and cost of cleaning will be provided by the town. The employees of the wastewater treatment facility have, utilized the uniforms. The employees of the Department of Public Works do not. So there was a section that allowed, that was interpreted as a uniform allowance of $500, up to $500 per employee for articles of clothing for their work. So what this will do is basically correct that issue and problem and comply with the union contract that will allow for the Department of Public Works employees to have the uniforms as stated in the contract. At this point, when this issue arose, I spoke with the director and asked him to take charge of the uniform situation, preparing, and he had some analysis as to the cost for the employees. But in summary, what this would do is utilize the bid that was approved by the council acting as the sewer commission to allow the uniforms to be, same uniform vendor to provide uniforms for the Department of Public Works as they do with the employees of the wastewater treatment facility. And with that, director can answer any specific questions about the uniforms, and questions as to the operation and how that will work.
So,
Any questions, Mary Beth?
yep. So the cost of this, Ernie, is equivalent to or greater than or less than the way it was done previously? Is there additional cost, I guess, is my question.
I believe there may be a additional cost a little above and beyond what this $500 was. And I'll let the director respond to that as he did the review. So.
And
Don,
I
can
also noticed I think it's 11 per person. And I assume that means because, yeah, so I just logistic, what happens? You drop it off in the hamper at the place and they come and pick it up? But I just kind of
Yes.
wondering how it works,
Yes,
because I
they
think
have-
it's something new.
Yeah, they're issued 5 uniforms. And they have a 6th as a spare. So every week, the company comes in, picks up the used ones, cleans them, and brings them back the following week. So the employees will always have a set of uniforms and a spare. And again, this was done previously in Public Works. And then why, I don't know, it was same language, but it was changed to go with this up to $500, which was reserved for a quartermaster system. And the quartermaster system is if you need something that's not covered, it can be replaced. So what was being done was not in accordance with the contract. And this will basically come up, bring the town in line of what the contractual obligation is, as well as providing a better system for the clothing because there was no uniformity. And at times, some items that were purchased were really not work related. So with that, I believe, Don, can you answer the question about the cost as opposed to what we are paying now?
Yes, it will be a little bit more than what we were paying in the past. We were paying a straight $500. This is going to work out to be about $450, $460 per employee. The items that are not covered under this are the winter jackets, the rain gear, the heavy sweaters for the fall, and the t-shirts. Those will be added on, or those will be additional. So I would expect that you might see an increase, especially for a new employee who has none of this equipment. But you'll see an increase for the new employees. For the old employees, you should be probably within $100 of where you are now. When the way the quartermaster system works is if they have a winter coat, generally speaking, the winter coats last more than a year. In fact, they last 3 or 4 years. As long as they are holding up, they don't get a new coat. When they need a new coat, they bring the old one in and we turn around and dispose of it. And at that point in time, they can purchase a new coat.
And what about if someone were to leave? What happens then?
All
I
of
mean,
the
do we get them back?
Yes, all the uniforms need to be turned back in.
And that, I mean, do we have the employees sign something like that? As I said, it's sort of new to me. I'm just curious as to how it actually works. And so if somebody says, yeah, I lost 4 t-shirts, are they out of luck? Do we replace them? How does that work?
Well, we won't worry about the t-shirts, but as far as the
Or
shirts and
anything,
the,
anything.
yeah, the other items, we hold their last paycheck hostage to that, and they need to turn their gear in as part of their sign out. So they need to turn around and do that as part of their out processing, or they don't get their last paycheck until they do that. In fact, I believe we held that up on one individual last year.
Okay, so we know that that actually happens. And what if somebody just says, it still works here. I lost my jacket. How often would we say, okay, yeah, we'll give you another one. We'll give you another one.
I think it would be within reason. If it's, you know, if the guy's had a jacket for 3 or 4 years, I'm not gonna question it. But if the guy is every year coming in for a new jacket, no, we won't accept that.
Okay,
Councilman
thank you.
Councilman Licciardi?
I'm just curious, Don, what does a uniform consist of? I know there's 5 days, 6 days worth. What is, if you're gonna outfit a person, what does that consist of?
Okay, they get 11 outfits, and the reason they get 11 outfits is because they will wear 5 uniforms over the course of a week. They turn their uniforms in on a Friday, and then on Monday, the new uniforms come in. So rather than have them
strip down and leave that fifth pair on the floor without something to wear. That's why they get the sixth pair. And that just carries them from one week to the next week. It consists of a pair of pants. It consists of a shirt. All the shirts will be the same style, although they can be short sleeve or long sleeve. And most guys went ahead and opted for a blend of shirts. So they get some short, some long sleeve. And the boots are still a separate item. They get $120 per year to buy a pair of boots. They get and we will turn around and buy each guy a heavy sweater in the fall, and we'll buy them 5 t-shirts in the summer.
Okay.
And all this shows on the DPW budget, is that correct?
Yes.
And we already have something in place at the sewer department that's
I
just,
know we do, yeah.
Right,
Yep.
right.
As long as we keep track of it, I mean, as it's growing, we need to make sure that we know where all these things are, who has what, and I know you did attach a list of names and what people were getting and
Yep.
how many long sleeve, short sleeve. I assume that somehow you will make sure those records are kept, because if not, I assume that we as a town will be on the hook for that.
Every one of those shirts has a identification tag to it, so that they will turn around and actually scan in when they're being cleaned and when they're being redelivered. And so Sean, for example, has this shirt and he loses it or somebody else wears it, we'll find it in the system.
Okay. And Cintas will give you give you a
They'll
record
keep
of
us
that
abreast
every
of
week, I
everything.
assume. Yep, okay,
Yes.
all right.
any other comment? Hearing none, roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi,
Yes.
Councilman Messier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson,
Yes,
Councilman D'Amico,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Resolution approving an expenditure reclassification of police overtime for the graduation parade to the town council department from Fund 800 Special Details 1-800-008-200-5100 in the amount of $1,497.12, sponsored by Councilwoman Williamson.
Move the resolution.
second.
Moving second, discussion.
So this is a situation where, if you remember, we had graduation changed a great deal. There was no in-person graduation. We worked, the town council worked with the school committee and the superintendent to help organize a parade through town. And the police chief was very helpful. He was involved in the discussions. I believe it was David and myself, the superintendent, police chief. I don't remember who else was on the call, to be honest with you. When we organized, I believe it took place on, I should have that right on here, on, I'm going to say June 6th. It was very successful. Colonel Knott is on I think is on the call as well here or in the meeting. It was very successful. The graduates had a great time, and I actually thought that we could get some funds donated to cover the cost of overtime, and because police details were needed at each intersection, because it did go through the entire town. And I did not get to Kristen early enough. So we need to take this out of the police budget and put it into the town council budget. This is for 2020. So it doesn't affect the bottom line. It doesn't change what our numbers are. It's just a reclassification, taking it out of the police budget and putting it in town council budget.
Any questions on that?
Colonel, I don't know if you want to comment on that at all, or
I think you covered it well.
I
And
think,
thank you. It was a great day. It was a beautiful day. It was fun.
it
The
may
bad
be,
news is people
may
might want to do it going forward, right?
I say, it may be the new norm.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't say that. I'm gonna make a motion to not say the new normal ever again.
Okay.
Any other comment? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi,
Yes.
Councilman Messier,
Yes.
Councilman Williamson,
Yes.
Councilman D'Amico.
I actually have my hand up.
I did
I'm
see
just
that. I'm sorry.
curious,
Go ahead, John.
why are we incurring the cost to not say that the school itself, the high school, because generally graduation, is done, say at like P-PAC or what have you. I mean, if that wasn't taking place, shouldn't there be funds available to pay for this? Or was
Actually,
it something that was agreed to beforehand?
so Councilwoman Williamson and myself, when we actually pushed for this parade, and as we thought when we first started this, that we would be able to incur the expense. And we did not put that on the school department. There was other things that the school department did that day to incur their expense side of it. So we worked with Karen, the superintendent, and we planned on incurring this expense in the beginning.
I have to, John, I thought we would be able to get people to donate, actually people in the community to donate to cover the costs, and that just didn't happen. So, and that's on me. I probably should have been knocking on more doors than I did.
Yeah,
So to
I
go
guess
back,
my question is, it was essentially a council initiated event.
absolutely, yes,
Okay.
And
yes,
to be honest
in
with you,
conjunction, yeah.
during these times to actually start hitting up the local businesses for, even though, I'm sure they would, but, this is an expense that I think that we got to incur. We can't ask too much from our businesses right now, considering what they've gone through. There's only been a few that have been thriving through this, and there's a lot hurting through this. So, I think
I'm not against paying it. I'm just asking if it's council initiated or if this was something that for some reason we're just footing.
the school
Fine,
the school definitely wanted this, but I will say there was two people really, really pushing from our side that wanted this parade also. And
Okay.
made sure that we got to have the parade with the seniors, who, by the way, really enjoyed it. They were really appreciative. The parents were very appreciative. I think this went a long way to get them through their senior year. As Councilman Williamson said, this was definitely a strange year, and and hopefully, this isn't the new norm, but we'll see.
So, and actually, when we had our original discussions, John, we thought the price tag was going to be a great deal more, and Mark did a terrific job in scheduling things, and I believe he had some people actually donate some time. So the cost is far less, and because it's under $1,500. And yes, could we probably say, and I'm sure the schools would pony up half, but I don't believe it's worth it at this point in time, especially because the budget year is closed. So there's no need to mess up any other books. So it's on us. And again, it shouldn't reflect in Mark's budget,
Yes.
final budget numbers.
I'll take the roll call vote again. Councilman Licciardi,
Yes.
Councilman Messier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson,
Yes.
Councilman D'Amico,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Resolution authorizing the purchase and installation of a new server to replace an underperforming server to prevent disruption to the town's operating process in the amount not to exceed $15,172, sponsored by Council President Goslin.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? I think John Patel will put this on the agenda. Where is he?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, John.
How you doing? Having working with RCC when they evaluated the town server that Alto shares, the police department shares with it, they found that it is in excess of being used. It's outdated. It's time for a new one. So the one that we're replacing is going to go into kind of like a backup type of thing, so that God forbid the new one ever crash, we can always just fire up the old one, and it's good enough to be a backup, but not it's outlived its life going forward and taking on new security options and things like that. So that's why we put it on the agenda.
Any questions? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi,
Yes.
Councilman Messier,
Yes.
Councilman Williamson,
Yes.
Councilman D'Amico,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Authorization for the Director of Public Works to contract with International Paving, Inc. to remove and dispose debris located behind the Cal Ripken ball field. The amount is not to exceed $60,000.
I'll move the authorization.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Don?
Yes, this is a complicated one in that for, I'm going to say at least a couple of decades, the DPW and other entities in town have been pushing debris in behind the Cal Ripken ball field. It got within the 200-foot buffer of the river, and we got called on that, and there was a complaint filed, and we ended up having the DEM come in and say, you're in violation, you need to clean it up. I gave you the entire chain of emails that we've had in between us and the DEM. Both Ernie and I had a walk out there with about 8 guys from DEM. It's been staked and marked off. We've barricaded it so no one can get back there. And I've actually put a stop to the process so that we didn't dump anything back there, that illegal dumping since really December 5th. And we have to clean it up. We have to remove it from the 200-foot marker. And, you know, the choices you got are very slim to none. If you don't do it, they have the authority to fine you. And I believe it's still $25,000 a day, not for the thing, it's per day. So you can easily eat that up. I have been told that we will get an extension for 1 year. And I was told that we don't have the $110,000 to award the entire contract. What I was able to negotiate with DEM and the contractor is to do half of the work, which may get us out of the area, which may, you know, we're not 100% sure what we're going to find there, but we will turn around and do the up to 60,000 and stop, and then reevaluate next spring and get an extension for another year. I just don't know. I won't know until we get in there and actually start digging through it. But the majority of the material is going to be old street sweeping sand. It's going to be construction debris. There's a lot of organic material, a lot of trees, tree roots. There's some leaves that I have no idea why people threw bags of leaves there. The only thing I can think of is they came to the DPW on a Sunday, we were closed, and they decided to just not come home with their leaves, and they threw it back there. There's a little bit of garbage and a little bit of metal, but for the most part, your big part is the organic debris and the gravel and sand. So I don't know if I can give you any more insight to that other than that.
Don, all silk fence and all that will be installed before digging?
Yes. I actually got a waiver from DEM not to put the silt fence in because I think it actually will cause more damage because you're going to have to cut the brush and everything at the bottom of the incline. But the last email I got insisted that we put it in. So we will put the silt fence in and hay bales.
Thank you. Ernie, I see your hands up. You're on mute.
Yes, thank you. Again, the director has done a very good job of outlining the situation and where we are. Regarding the funding would come from the unassigned capital budget. And the reason for 60,000 is, again, as the director said, once we get in there, it can assess how far that goes and what remains to be completed. DEM, I think, has been very pleased with the town's response and the town's proactive response as to developing a plan to begin this process. They understand that, you know, the cost of 110,000 or what it may be is very cost prohibitive these days for communities in light of, you know, current budgetary restrictions and possible future budgetary restrictions. So if you recall, when we had about $550,000 of unassigned capital, we allocated the FY21 capital that was taken out of the budget to reduce the tax rate, and that was about $194,000. So that would be subtracted from this, you know, $542,000. And then there were other items we put in, you know, the fire turnout gear of 30,000 and some of the public works items. So at the present time, we still have approximately $100,000 left for unassigned DPW projects. And again, when we envisioned, you know, the budget, you know, before the coronavirus, again, we were thinking of, you know, this funds could be used for sidewalk replacement. It could be used for some paving, and it also could be used for some drainage work. So we had $100,000 unofficially allocated for that purpose. We also had a amount of $150,000 earmarked, if you will, for the removal of that Crompton Mill smokestack. And, you know, as you recall, the council by resolution has allowed us to utilize the firm of Jeremiah and Associates, utilizing another bid that the wastewater treatment facility had to do some the engineering for us. And one of the initial tasks is going to be, I'm going to ask them to do is, you know, what would the cost? There's two solutions. One is to repair the top of the smokestack that has the loose material, and the other is to remove it. So I would assume that, you know, the council as decision maker ultimately on awarding the contract would like to know what is the cost difference. If the cost is to repair it.
Ernie, we're going off the agenda item. We're cleaning up the ballpark.
Okay, the funding is from the unassigned capital funds in reserve.
Thank you. Mary Beth, your hands up.
I wanted to make sure that, so International Paving is responsible for disposing of it. I assume they take it to, I don't know where they take it, but it's not our issue. We don't have to pay extra for that. That's all part of the contract.
That's correct. And they've agreed to the $60,000 reduction at this time.
Thank you. Any other discussion from the council? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi?
Yes.
Councilman Messier?
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson?
Yes.
Councilman D'Amico?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Resolution authorizing the West Warwick Fire Department to purchase a 2021 Ford F-150 pickup truck for a sum not to exceed $32,655.10.
I'll move the resolution.
Second.
Moving second, discussion, chief?
Well, this was on the agenda. Last week, we were able to get a very good deal on this through a government purchasing program. The list price is for the vehicle is $41,667.92, and we're able to acquire it for the $32,655.10. So it's a good deal. We had looked at getting a used pickup truck. We were going to be spending close to $30,000 for something that is several years old with 50 to 60,000 miles on it. So this, you know, is really the best way to go.
Absolutely. Any questions for the chief on that? Hearing nothing from the council, roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi?
Yes.
Councilman Messier?
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson?
Yes.
Councilman D'Amico?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Okay, resignations. Resolved that the town council hereby acknowledges the resignation from Naomi G. Lipsky of the for the town of West Warwick Public Library. And want me to read them both at once, Dave?
That's fine.
Okay. And resolved that the town council hereby acknowledges the resignation of Amy Ortiz from the zoning board of review for the town of West Warwick.
I'll move to accept the resignations of Naomi Lipsky and Amy Ortiz.
Second.
Moving second, discussion. Mary Ann, if you can just make sure you send them a thank you letter for serving. I actually had a brief conversation with Amy last night. She's a little tied up right now with some things going on. So she had to resign. I wish her the best of luck. And
Dave, is she on the zoning board or is she an alternate?
she is
An alternate.
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 Any other questions? I'll take a roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi?
Yes.
Councilman Messier?
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson?
Yes.
Councilman D'Amico?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Appointments. Resolved that the town council hereby appoints the following individual to serve as a member of the zoning board of review for the town of West Warwick with a term to expire 7/2021.
I'll move the name of Jerry Lee.
I would second that.
Moved and seconded, and just for the record, is this the alternate or a? I'm just trying, my phone just keeps flipping. I can't open up.
This would be to take Amy Ortiz's place.
Well, if we're just accepting her
No.
resignation, how can we do that? That can't be right.
That's not right.
No, you're
If
right.
it's-
I'll have to check. Oh, hold on.
There were two openings and I
Right, there
actually,
were two.
Hold on, Al's got the, Al,
The opening for 2021 is the alternate spot that is presently vacant.
Right.
yes, so there'll be two other spots available later.
so can I ask how that works then? So if somebody really wants a position on the zoning board of review and there are two spots open based on what I've seen on the last couple of agendas. So, and actually what the agenda says is that they both expire in 2025.
So Mary Beth, I
So-
know Justin Kutu's position is expiring. It's not expired already. He's sending his letter of intent tomorrow. Along with
Intent to,
stay on
Reappointment.
for reappointment. And Al,
Amy, the 2020 expirations are Justin Kutu, full member, Amy Ortiz, alternate, who just resigned. The alternate position that you just filled is 2021.
Correct. So there will be another position available in Justin Kutu's position if Justin chooses to stay or not to stay is, it's up to the council, but,
Are you saying that there will, if Justin stays, there will be no full-time, there'll just be alternates available, is that correct?
If Justin stays, Amy Ortiz's seat will be open. After you appoint Jerry Lee, Amy Ortiz's seat will be open.
But that's not what's on, okay, well, we'll get to that, I guess. So yes, I second Jerry Lee, and it is for, it's for the alternate expiring when, Al?
2021.
Amy Ortiz's would be 2022.
No, Amy Ortiz is 2020.
Yeah, but the new one would expire in 2022. It's a 2-year term, correct?
5-year, isn't it?
5 years.
Yeah, they're 5-year
5 years.
terms.
5-year term.
It's going to be 2025, the new one.
Yes.
So
I have a motion for Jerry Lee, seconded by Councilman
Yes.
Williamson. Roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi?
Due to a written decision by the Ethics Commission, I cannot appoint or reappoint anyone on the zoning board or planning board until a personal matter is cleared up. The written decision right now is in the clerk's office. Attorney DeFiore does have a copy of it. If Solicitor Williamson needs a copy, he can ask Mary Ann for it. It should be filed. It's filed in clerk's office.
So you're recusing yourself.
I am recusing myself. Yeah.
Thank you. Councilman Messier?
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson?
yes,
Councilman D'Amico?
Yes, absolutely. Jerry Lee has certainly proven himself to be a very important part of this community, and he's always working on behalf of the town. So definite yes.
And I'll second what you just said, and I vote yes. And thank you, Jerry. I know you're in the crowd if you can hear us, and good luck serving on that board.
Appointment for the pension board, resolved that the town council hereby
Can I
appoints.
interrupt? So was it one of the two names? Are we moving?
Yes, we only had one. We only had one spot to fill, and
Spot for now? Okay.
Appointment for the pension board, resolved that the town council hereby appoints the following individual to serve as a member of the pension board for the town of West Warwick with a term to expire 11/18/2022.
Move the name of James Atchison.
second.
moved and second, discussion.
I just want to say that I had the opportunity, James is actually in my ward. I had the opportunity back in June to sit with him for a period of time. And we had a really good discussion. James is an attorney. He is extremely capable, extremely articulate. He understands finance, and I think he would make a great addition to the pension board.
Any other comment? Hearing none. Councilman Licciardi?
Yes.
Councilman Messier?
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson?
Yes,
Councilman D'Amico?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Discussion and ratification of Executive Order 2020-11 of the Town Manager, amending Executive Order 2020-1, a declaration of state of emergency dated September 15, 2020, to extend the state of emergency in the town of West Warwick until October 20th, 2020, sponsored by the Town Manager.
Ernie?
Yes, this is the, unfortunately, the standard extension that is required for every 30 days, paralleling the governor's declaration of a state of emergency. The local cities and towns have declared their own local emergencies to take various actions as they are necessary. And It is about 6 months since the town had its first declaration of emergency on March 17th, 2020. So we're at the 6-month mark, although it seems like it's longer, and the 6-month mark seems to be counting. But again, this is the monthly extension for the local extension of the emergency declaration.
Any questions for Ernie? I'll take a roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi?
I'm going to say yes, but I do have a question though.
Go ahead.
Ernie, I know your last day is October 9th. What happens October 10th?
That'll authorize the interim manager, whoever we appoint, to have that control.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And I will vote yes.
Councilman Messier?
Yes, as well.
Councilwoman Williamson?
Yes.
Councilman D'Amico?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Discussion regarding maintenance and general upkeep of the gazebo, sponsored by Councilwoman Williamson.
Mary Beth?
Yes, actually, just there's been a lot of chatter about it. I did have a discussion with Colonel Knott. I just wanted to make sure that we let people know that we are talking about it. There has been some changes as far as the number of times we pick up trash, having actually policemen visiting during different shifts. Mark, if you'd like to give us some background there.
Certainly. Since you mentioned trash, we'll start with that one. I spoke to Nicole about it. She arranged with Mega to pick up that area twice a week, the curbside bins, for the remainder of this nice season, perhaps through the fall. So that started, I believe, this week. They may have done it today. The food provider, there's a couple organizations that provide food there for the people that need it. And it's more or less a box or bag lunch. They have started to bring their own black bags and to take away as much as they can by the time they leave, and use a private dumpster to dispose of that to help alleviate some of the trash. In addition to, one of our captains makes it a point to stop there with some trash bags from the police department and more or less voluntells the people that are hanging out there to help clean up, and he and an officer or two with the folks that are there have done cleanup on occasion. So the trash issues should diminish now that we have a private hauler taking it away. My people, stop there on a fairly regular basis. I know there have been complaints, and we understand, the nature of them, but we kind of have, law enforcement perspective, walk a fine line between what's permissible and what's considered illegal. Just for a point of reference, I ran the report yesterday. Since January 1st, we've logged 81 calls for service at the gazebo. Half of those have been just officers stopping by to say hello and have, consensual non-law enforcement meets. We've went there twice. That resulted for arrest for simple assault, 2 for disorderly conduct, and an arrest that resulted from a car stop in front of it. So 5 arrests have come from there, and backing up the fire department on some medical calls as well. So that's the bulk of it. I can expand more on the law enforcement aspect of it, but that's not what you had to discuss.
Oh, and actually, one of the questions that I've gotten from people have asked is, I think most of our parks are a dusk to dawn. They're closed And does that apply to the gazebo? And I don't know the answer to that. And I'm not sure who I direct that to.
I did print all the ordinances that I could find. My interpretation was that short of a special event, that all our public parks close from dusk to dawn unless it's specified, like, you know, night basketball and the lights are on.
Okay. Thank you. And I don't know if anybody else has any other comments, or I just, as I said, it's been a hot topic. I've received several questions, and I assume other council people have as well.
So I know, Chief, I've reached out to you in the department. You guys done a very respectful job on maintaining over there. Also, working with the people who are hanging out over there, you know, bringing the garbage bags over and working with them to help keep it clean. That goes a long way. It is a public park. You have confirmed nobody's been sleeping there. You know, we had an issue with the camper that parks outside there, but he's been asked to move on anyway, and everything's been done peacefully and respectfully. And I think for the most part, it's a cooperative effort on all sides. It's just that it is the center of town, and you know, a lot of people are driving by it and they look over and they just, you know, it is hot. They get out of the sun. They're underneath the gazebo to get in the shade. You know, again, as long as it's not destroying the property, and you know, and everybody's working together and keeping it clean and looking good. I noticed a lot of lawn signs have gone up there lately, so it kind of looks a little hectic in there also. Maybe we can organize, maybe we can have Parks and Rec go by there and organize that a little bit, or neaten it up. But other than that, I mean, thank you for everything you guys are doing over there.
There has been an uptick the last 2 weeks with a couple of our community partners, social organizations that have stopped by periodically, added to the groups that provide food there during this COVID time. It's been exacerbated, but they're doing a very good job reaching out to try to offer services to those that need it and accept it, or at least lay the foundation there. So there is a noticeable difference over the last 2 weeks, in my opinion, and hopefully that will continue as we move towards the colder weather.
Terrific. And the other question that I've been asked is that I believe that Centerville sponsors the area. What exactly does that mean? That's more of a David question or an Ernie question, or
Centerville has their Hat Toys or whoever maintain that, so they pay for all that. The town still does a little bit of upkeep in there, but Centerville does pay for the maintenance of it, if I recall correctly.
Okay, thank you. Do we have many? It's off the topic, but are there many other companies or individuals that do adopt a spot?
So we have the Adopt a Spot program that I know Dave Lombari implemented a few years ago. Coventry Credit Union, which is now is it Coastway Credit Union?
Ocean State.
They still once in a while have their landscaping crew in the Phoenix area, but when it was Coventry Credit Union, they faithfully took care of it. But since they went to Ocean State, the town, once in a while, they'll go down there and clean it. You know, we do have the circular island on Providence Street, which I know is done by Reed's Landscaping.
Always looks nice. Yeah.
There's other spots that people have stopped maintaining, and Parks and Rec has taken them back over. But if, you know, again, if people want to pick a spot or pick an island or pick a spot, we also have right there in Arctic, John J. Clark Insurance actually has the island to the right, right in front of Club Frontenac, and I think they also have the island up in front of the across the street from Ferrucci's. So they maintain those two areas. But yeah, we to answer your question, Mary Beth, we do have a lot of adopted spots in town.
So I guess that was my public service announcement to get it out there. If there are other people that might want to do that, we'd be more than willing to entertain those offers.
Yes. Councilman Licciardi, your hand's up.
Yeah, I just, a couple of questions. Chief, do you know, I mean, I hate to throw another sign up somewhere, but if we have one and we could put it, I don't know, it's just a thought. They have the signs, park closes at dusk. Is that something we'd want to put up and use as a reference at the gazebo?
I mean, it can't hurt as long as, I mean, in my opinion, if it looks good and doesn't take away from the aesthetic. I mean, it's
Exactly. It is if there's some place that we could put it where it doesn't look so gaudy. Maybe it might give us a little more teeth if we need it.
Maybe on a column on the gazebo.
Yeah, on the inside maybe.
We can even frame it. I mean, if you guys want, if you get me the sign, I can build a frame for it and make sure it's hung. We can make it look. I can make it look pretty good.
At least it's something you could point to if somebody's on there at 8 o'clock at night and it's like, you know, I didn't know. Well, here it is right there.
right. Well, all those type things require a warning anyway, so we're gonna give people an advisement and ask them to comply. But we're not gonna take any significant action.
No, I don't want to book somebody over this, you know. But and the other question I have, this it's a strange question, but when you're talking trash and garbage, are you talking candy bar wrappers, soda cans, needles? Because when people talk, all of a sudden the rumors get started, and you know everybody has their opinion about the gazebo, what it's supposed to be, what you want it to be, and what's actually there. But to actually put people's minds at ease, what are we finding within the trash? Is what I'm trying to say.
I mean, from a police perspective, my observations have pretty much just been your standard food and beverage containers, mostly the styrofoam or the boxed stuff that stays around because it's bulky and overflows the trash cans easily. I mean, I think we've had one incident where, you know, we have a call screen that indicated that we took a needle for proper disposal. It wasn't really on the gazebo grounds, it was more in the drive behind it. So, you know, where it really came from or how long it was there, who knows, but you know, it was taken care of.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome.
You have a comment?
Yeah, I had my hand raised. I was trying not to. I talked over Councilman Licciardi so much last meeting. I was trying not to do that today.
That ended pretty quick just a second ago because it wasn't there.
No, it's been up for like 5 minutes. But it's okay. So I just wanted to add that I've had some conversations. That's all right. I've had some conversations with several of the organizations that help to feed. And I don't want to say just homeless because it's not just homeless. There's definitely people in need that go there that aren't necessarily homeless. And you know, I've kind of just reiterated with them because it is a thin line of you just can't go in there and like Chief Knott said, and just, you know, some of them are not necessarily breaking the law by hanging out there. So I've reiterated to them to pass along to the individuals that they have a close relationship with that it's important to be a good neighbor, whether you're homeless, whether you're, you know, down on your luck or whether you live there. I think being a good neighbor is important for anybody there. And I've kind of passed that along because I feel like having a good relationship with the individuals who are there. And I know Councilman Licciardi can attest to this because he did such great work with him and his family over off Pulaski Street. And I think it's important to have a relationship with these individuals and not just go in there and go get the heck out of here. I think it's a very delicate situation. So I think that our police department's been doing a great job. And you know, obviously it's a situation as a council we need to monitor, but it's not an easy fix.
Thank you, Jay. Okay, Miriam.
Okay. Upcoming appointments, Sewer Use Tax Board of Review, one vacancy with term to expire 2024. Pension Committee, 3 vacancies with terms to expire 2022, 2023, and 2024. Zoning Board of Review, 2 vacancies with terms to expire 2025. Patuxent River Authority, 1 vacancy with term to expire 2023. Public comment.
Marianne, can I ask you, I'm sorry, just, so we didn't fill either of those zoning board of reviews, and we'll have one more alternate. Is that correct?
No, I believe that there is one alternate that we filled tonight that is 2021. We have an alternate that's 2025, and we have Justin Kutu, who's a full member that's 2025, and he's getting his paperwork together now for reappointment.
Well, how many alternates do we have? Maybe that's
2.
where I'm confused.
2. We
So
have
we
one
just
opening.
appointed Jerry.
Yes. To fill one opening. The 2025 vacancy, what isn't, I didn't know that won't go on for, we just got the resignation like in the last, maybe to go on 1 or 2 more meetings before this is the first time it's gone on for that one because she just resigned.
No, I get that. So my point is Amy's position is not in that number 3 that you're talking about, or is it?
Well,
Okay.
the position that we've appointed tonight is the other alternate that's been open longer. That's what we've been trying to fill. The alternate now from Amy that's just came up. So that'll be advertised either 1 or 2 more meetings. I'll have to check with Paula.
Okay, so then I'm confused. So what did we appoint Jerry Leet to then? Alternate to expire in when?
2021.
Okay.
Now there are 2
But you say
positions. Okay.
But you say Amy's is not there, but then you're saying there's another alternate in that too that you have listed there. So I'm
Amy was an
confused.
alternate. We just got her resignation. That has to be on the agenda 3 times. The one that
I
was
get
on
that.
the agenda already 3 times was the one that is term expiring 2021. And that's what we
Okay.
filled tonight. It's already been on 3 times.
So again, the question that I have is this 2 positions you're saying are 2 full-time positions then? Because you're saying we filled Jerry, we put
No,
Jerry in
they're
it.
2 alternate positions.
Well,
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, there's one. All right. There was already 1 position, which we filled tonight with Jerry. There are now 1 alternate and 1 full position, which the full position is up for reappointment. That will expire 2025. The other alternate position, which would have been Amy, will expire 2025 if she had been reappointed, but she didn't want to be reappointed. So now that becomes available.
So you're saying then Amy's is in there in number 3. That doesn't, that's what I'm,
That's only been, this is the first time.
okay.
So Councilwoman, ultimately, there was 3 vacant positions, but 2 were not advertised 3 times.
I get that. Yep.
And we filled the one that was advertised 3 times. Now,
Right.
if Justin Kutu gets his paperwork in and the council wishes to reappoint him, then realistically, ultimately, there's 1 open position, which is an alternate position.
Right.
So the answer is that those 2 positions in number 3, one's the full-time Justin Kutu and the other one is Amy Ortiz.
Yes.
That was the question. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Public comment, designated portion of town council's open meeting for citizens to address comments to the town council relating to matters affecting the public business. Comments will only be addressed to the town council. Will take them under advisement. When addressing the town council, please state your name and address. Please conduct yourself in an orderly and respectful fashion. The comments of citizens accessing this portion of our meeting are neither adopted nor endorsed by this body, but heard as requested. Members of the town council being the duly elected public body as identified in Rhode Island General Law 42, 46, 2, 3 have no obligation to respond to the public's comments.
Any public comment? I see one hand go up. Get your
Can you
name
hear
and
me?
address for the record. Yep.
It's Derek Reed, 62 Andrews Ave. I just want to see if we have an update on what was discussed on the last meeting about the Factory Street Playground.
So actually, yes, that was a mistake on the council's part, not having that on the agenda. And I certainly don't want to be in violation of open meeting rules, but Tim, is there any way that you can give an informational update to us? And you're on mute.
Under the public comment section of the Open Meetings Act, specifically 4246-6 subsection D, I can provide information for what's called informational purposes only. So since Wednesday, the 2nd of September, and over the past 10 days or so, I've sent emails out to all the department heads that were copied to the council seeking information. Most, if not all, of the department heads have returned those, and information has been sent to me. So I've been reviewing the documents. I've reached out to 2 state agencies. I need to reach out to a couple more, and 1 private entity about everything that was involved in the project. I've been reviewing the authorities, specifically those regarding the ADA and accessibility to playgrounds, surfaces, material, the foundation or that corrugated steel or plastic that's around there. I've conducted some research on pro-built designs, and a letter has been sent to them asking for information. And I think within the probably next 2 weeks, I'll be able to present my findings to the council, and then make a recommendation as to what should occur, and then seek the advice and consent about how to occur or what should occur. It may take a little bit of time to get information back from some of the state agencies, but hopefully that stuff will be readily available within the next couple of weeks. And if not, as to one agency, I already indicated that if they cannot forward the information voluntarily, I'll seek it through an Access to Public Records Act request. Other than that, once I do have all of this information, probably going to be conducting interviews of not only current town council members and former town council members, but also the managers that have been involved, the building officials that have been involved, and obviously individuals from DEM, the Governor's Commission on Disabilities, Department of Labor, DigSafe, and the Contractors Registration Board. So hopefully we are going to have a complete chronology, all the paperwork from start to finish, and then the council can make a decision about what and how it wants to react to the report that I give them.
So I would suggest, and David, I'll defer to you, but that we will make sure that it is on the October 6th town
I may
council
make a
agenda.
suggestion. You can keep it on each council agenda until it's resolved.
That'd be nice.
It would be nice if, hopefully it's not, well, hopefully there's a great deal of progress made by the 6th, and yes, we will keep it on the agenda.
Thank you. I have another hand up. Looks like Brian.
Good evening. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Thank you, Council President Goslin. It's my opinion that for the last, I don't know, better part of 3 years, I've been presenting to the council issues of environmental concerns along the Patuxent River Authority. And tonight, the council presented, well, I shouldn't say presented, approved $60,000 to clean up issues along behind the Cal Ripken field. And my question to the council is, if the town as a whole, under your charter and your ordinance, recognizes the need to preserve the environment and not impact the Patuxent River, how is it and who is it that authorize dumping behind those fields? And more importantly, in that ordinance or resolution that you approved, has any funding been looked at for whether the street sweepings, as the DPW director suggested, are they contaminated? And more importantly, I just find it laughable that the DPW director and others present to the council that dumping stopped back in December, and would be more than happy to send to the council, and I believe they've already been copied on these emails many times, that dumping has continued well into February. And it just is laughable to me that $60,000 is approved based on a recommendation from the DPW director that is just factually inaccurate. I look forward to your comment on that. And also, and I know that in many situations, the town solicitor or anyone from the town cannot comment on ongoing litigation between private parties in the town. I'm just curious, and I'm not looking for any specifics of any litigation, but I know that back about a year or so ago, there was an action sought against the town relative to Open Meetings Act responded by Anna Spodnik, and it pretty much has handcuffed the town's ability to act, and it pretty much slows you guys almost in every meeting. I'm wondering if that litigation is ongoing. I understand that with COVID, things in the Superior Court system is much slower, but if anyone could just give me the kind of go ahead that it's an ongoing litigation or it's something that's been settled with the town, I'd appreciate that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Brian.
I'm not sure I understood what that question was. I'm sorry if there was a question in there.
What,
I'm sorry.
Councilwoman?
Yeah, Brian, you just, I think you asked a question, but I'm not sure what it was as far as ongoing litigation pertaining to exactly what?
So I'm 99.9% certain that within the last 12 months, an action was sought against the town relative to the Open Meetings Act violations that the council has committed. And I'm pretty sure almost every meeting, each member of the council is kind of walking on eggshells. And I'm just curious whether that litigation has been settled or it's ongoing.
So Tim, I'm not sure there's anything ongoing. There have been, you're on mute.
Once again, there is no litigation pending right now involving a violation of an open meeting act.
However,
Thank you.
Brian, you are correct. We err on the side of caution because we have been put on warning, and solicitor, you can correct me if I'm wrong. We have been put on warning by the Attorney General's office that if we violate the Open Meetings Act going forward, we will be subject to fines.
That is correct.
And Brian, your second thing, or the first thing, was about dumping continued into February, and whether that happened. I don't know that factually. I guess I would ask the DPW director to answer that. He said not since December. But the fact is it has to be cleaned up. So we have to spend the money to clean it up. That's the reality. I don't think anybody's happy about it. I certainly know that I'm not, but we do indeed need to pay the money to clean it up.
Councilman, just to clarify, the complaint came to me probably early February. I got it over to Don and Ernie, and we confirmed with DEM at the time that we weren't served our letter because of it was sitting in a mailbox from COVID. So there may have possibly been some dumping going on. And yes, there was videos provided to me, and I think I sent it to the council. And then we got served a letter from DEM, and Don has worked diligently with DEM. I'm not sure if he had his timelines correct, but he definitely stopped all dumping as of now.
Am I still on? Can everyone still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I think, I mean, I appreciate David's input and everyone's input, but from my perspective, I have been presenting to this council as well as previous councils since 2017 that there were wetlands issues around that Patuxent, and every step of the way I've been told to, you know, pretty much go to DEM, and I have, and it's on the other side of the river as well. So at what point does the town, who's approving projects in that area, take an active role into protecting our natural resources? It's quite the mind-boggling thing to me as a landscape architect. So, I mean, I'm not going to beat a horse with a dead stick, but I do think that the current DPW director needs to take the bull by the horns, as well as the current council and whoever the incoming town manager is, to reinsure the residents of West Warwick that one of the gems in the town, be it the Patuxent River, is preserved in perpetuity, because you just can't forget about these things. So I thank you all for allowing me to talk. I appreciate it, and look forward to your comments.
Thank you, Brian. And clearly, I don't think anybody would disagree that we should preserve the Patuxent and any of our natural resources. And yes, we have to do a better job.
I have one more hand up.
Derek Reed again. On that note, the town has its own river authority, am I correct?
Patuxent River Authority.
Yeah.
No, the town, we have, the Patuxent River Authority covers all cities and towns along the Patuxent River. And we have 3 representatives from West Warwick. And right now they maintain the fishing pier and the fishing spot at Veterans Square, along with cleanups, along with along the river walk. It's a volunteer organization. And again, we have 3 members representing West Warwick.
So Jay, let me ask you this. Are those members aware of the encroachment of the 200-foot setback on either side of the river in the same location?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Do you think maybe the council should make them aware, or the DPW director?
Mr. Reed, one of the members on there works for DEM, so I'm sure he's well aware of it now.
But coming directly from the town leaders, department heads, whatever you want to call it, I think it should be done. Not just from Derek, not just from, whoever, Brian. I think the town itself should say, look, we got encroachment on the riverbanks on both sides of the river in the same location. What are we going to do about it? That's all I want to say.
Anything pertaining to the river, to the Patuxent River, yes, the authority should be aware. Are they? I don't know.
And to say that one works for the DEM, that's great. Is he aware? Do we know 100%? No. Should we tell him?
Oh,
yes.
I don't know.
That's all I'm saying.
So I mean, I suppose it wouldn't hurt to just send a letter to the Patuxent River Authority, letting them know that we're cleaning it up.
I have another hand up.
Thank you, Council President Goslin. I think Derek hits on a good point. I mean, every member of this council, I've been copied on these emails, has been made aware of the dumping back in January, February. So for anyone to say that as a municipal body that you were not aware of the dumping it is a flat out lie. So I think that you all have an obligation to make whatever state authority or federal authority aware of the infractions that have been going on. So that's all I have to say about that.
I don't think anybody said they were unaware of the dumping going on. So that was not a flat out lie. I just want to correct you on that.
I appreciate the correction, but it's still an infraction, and all of you should, in my opinion, I mean, I'm just being humble here, should have brought that to someone at DEM or EPA's attention.
They brought it to our attention. Why would we bring it to their attention when they brought it to our attention? They sent us the letter. Our DPW director has been working diligently with them, and they're correcting the problem. I don't.
We brought it to your attention before we brought it to DEM's attention, and the timeline will reflect that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no more public comment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a good night.
Good night,
Thank
everybody.
you. Thank you. Good night.
Good night.